So today I'm joined with Cafe Rob 81. He's helping me out with all the extra filming for this bike. Thank you, Rob.
No problem.
Thank you, Cafe Rob 81. So he's going to be starting up his YouTube channel here soon. I think it's already up and live, so you can jump to him and subscribe. And you'll be doing what? Kind of like bike builds, touring. You're a video guy, so you'll be making some pretty clever videos, I assume, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some builds, some fixes, and then rides. On occasion, doing 2-up rides, and yeah.
Cool. All right, let's head back over to Harley and check out this rodeo event that they have going. They're throwing in a rodeo event just for me. Can you believe it?
Oh, is there going to be? When you say rodeo, I'm thinking
there's a bull,
some sort of wild horse or a bull.
Yep. All right, so 2016 Road Glide. Dude, so far I'm digging this bike, man. Last night I was thinking about what bike should I test ride today. They literally told me I could take whatever bike I wanted, and so my first gut instinct, in fact, I text messaged you and I said, hey, let's take the Street Glide out tomorrow. I really want to get to know that bike some more. And here I am on the Road Glide. I chose this because I started thinking about the practicality of it, and this bike just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bike. Beautiful bike, and it looks really comfortable.
Oh, extremely comfortable. This is like the first stock seat I could ever fall in love with.
Well, I'm surprised how much of a pickup it has.
Yeah, man, it's...
You know, like you said, you didn't even get past third gear.
I felt like I was driving like a granny, and instead I'm like hauling, man. It definitely has some get up and go. I'm barely cracking on the throttle, and it just moves. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. And I've got all the vents open this time, so I can get a better feel for how it rides with the vents open. And the venting is, I mean, the one cool thing about this bike over the Street Glide is you have this shark head fairing that's fixed to the frame. So there's not going to be any like independent wobbling to it. There's no weak mounting points. This thing is sturdy, it's on there, it's snug and secure. And I think that really gives this bike an attribute that the Street Glide can't touch.
Yeah, that fixed fairing. I've talked to some guys that ride the Street Glide versus the Road Glide, and everyone loves the Street Glide, but then when they go on long trips,
yeah,
they say that one big wind gust,
yep,
still kind of throws you around a little bit.
Yeah, that was the weird thing with the Street Glide is I felt a lot of buffeting, a lot of wind buffeting on my helmet, on my face, and I could pick that up on my microphone in my video. Whereas with this fairing, I really don't feel that same sensation. I feel a completely different wind protection, and it's quite drastic. And then the other big thing, Rob, is that this bike over the Street Glide has the fatter touring tire up front. It's not. I think the Street Glide's a bit a bigger diameter and a thinner tire to begin with.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So that might give some advantage to the Street Glide up in the twists in the corners. But I'm not sure. That part I'm unaware of.
How is that low cut the low cut windshield?
I love it, man. I think it's great, especially for what I do with motovlogging and filming. I think it's great to be able to look over that fairing so much easier.
A friend of mine and I rented the Street Glide and took it from LA to Vegas, and I think the windshield was a little bit higher, but I remember when the wind got going pretty good and we got the speed up to about 95 miles an hour.
Okay.
You could just like tuck your neck, like kind of shrink your neck into your shoulders, and that's where like the no wind zone was on that bike.
Nice.
But you were still hanging on a little bit when you were going that fast, because if a big gust came in. But man, I remember thinking to myself, that versus the bikes that I ride, man, I rode this bike to Vegas, did the same ride on this bike, and did the same ride on the Street Glide, and I'll tell you, I was exhausted when I got there on this bike.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, we got there and we had a lot of energy left over. I mean, we were wide awake. It was, it doesn't take a lot of a lot of stamina to go on long trips on those bikes, which is awesome.
Yeah. No, this bike definitely, with the wind protection, you're going to be far less fatigued on a 700-mile day. Kind of open up a little bit. I don't want to go too hard on her. It's a fresh engine, and it's not my engine. But definitely has some get up and go. Very comfortable bike. The fatigue factor, I think, is very minimal on this bike. I feel very upright and a comfortable upright. I weigh about, let's see, right around 250, and I'm about 5'10", and I'm just well fed, if you will. But yeah, I think that the bike fits me very well. It's very confident as far as flat footing it goes. I've got about a 30-inch inseam. And so I think it's a quite awesome bike. I think if you were, a bigger guy, 6'4", 6'5", the bike would be plenty fine for you. And if you're a bit shorter, I think the bike would be fine for you. As far as the weight goes, I don't think, if you're worried about your muscles and being able to kind of manhandle the bike, I think if you just kind of practice and you've done your proper training, I don't think that you're really going to have too much issue with this bike. It's not that clumsy feeling at all, even at the lower speeds. Does the rider look cool on this bike, Rob?
That's what I was thinking from the rear. From the rear of the bike, I mean, it looks centered. You have the perfect amount of weight on the right, the perfect amount of weight on the left.
Yeah.
And then with someone sitting on it, it's just a very centered looking bike.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with everything as is. I don't think I'd even really need to change out the exhaust, though I would. That'd be the first thing I would do, is change out the exhaust. Other than that, maybe someplace to put my cell phone, or just leave the cell phone in the box, and I'm cool with having everything I have here. I don't know, I'm pretty happy with it overall.
Just straight out of the dealership, it doesn't look like you need to do much to it.
No. Some slip-ons if you want more sound, and you're good to go.
And then how about the saddlebags? They have a locking device right on the top?
Yeah, you can lock them with the key back here, and then with gloves, I can maneuver the boxes. I can even open it while I'm riding, pull out a bottle of water.
That's what I heard, that these boxes were a different design than about 5 or 6 years back.
This whole bike is designed for one touch, like everything can be done with one finger with gloves. And so that's pretty cool in my eyes. I'm just really shocked at how nimble this bike is. Like, once you get up and move, out of all the big Harleys that I've ridden, this bike just seems to be the most, just nimble. And I love that.
Easy maneuverable.
Oh yeah.
For a bagger.
For a bagger, I don't feel so wide and bulky and fat and chubby like I do on the Street Glide. I just feel a little bit more streamlined. Don't get me wrong, I still love the Street Glide. I think the Street Glide's the sexiest bike that Harley sells, but that's my own personal opinion. But beyond just the aesthetics, like the actual function side of it, I really like this bike. Really impressed. I would have expected, on paper, they're so similar. These two bikes are very similar on paper. But there are some fundamental differences with the fairing and with that fatter tire up front. There's about an inch difference in length. That stuff is meaningless in my opinion, but between the fixed fairing and the fatter front touring tire, I think this is a pretty solid bike. As is.
I was talking to a Harley rider the other day, and I was telling him that I really like the design of these bikes, and his comment was that he likes it, but the reason why he chose the non-fairing bike was fear of security on the audio system. Now, with those flat screens, does it make it harder for someone to come in there and alter it or steal it? Or, I mean, what's your view on that besides going from the touchscreen, from the CD player to the touchscreen?
Well, I think for the most part, a Harley rider that picks up this bike is going to have it insured. So, I mean, that first and foremost. But above and beyond that, I don't really see, I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that simple to steal the system out. It might be simple to vandalize it.
I mean, if you're having a bike like this, you're not really parking it on the street anyways.
Yeah, I would imagine you're parking it in a garage.
You got all the controls on the thumb and all that?
Yeah, both thumbs can control everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that one touch then.
Yeah, and it's all touchscreen, so that's really, really cool. That I can control everything with my gloves. I don't have special gloves or anything. It's just go, you know, touch and go. Real simple.
Oh, and you got navigation and everything.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's pretty simple, and it even has a picture of my bike, of the road glide. Has the audio information down below, which is cool. Miles per hour, the tachometer. Yeah, pretty cool, man. There's also supposed to be like gear indicators. I mean, I don't know the controls on it. I don't want to fiddle around, and I don't think there's a wheelie control button on this, but
just one mode.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, and I like this color. It's like the granite. I can't remember what it's called. Granite something. Granite black maybe, or granite rock candy. It has the little gold flakes in it.
Yeah.
I actually dig that. I got to choose the color, and I really wanted to try this one out. It's something different than flat black.
Yeah, it is. It's got a different look to it. That's for sure, especially during a sunny day like this.
Yeah, with a bright day. And I mean, I don't know if the camera picks up that flake, but they've got another one with even bigger flakes that's actually not bad looking. It's not my thing, but I guess it could be.
I'll tell you, from the rear, it sure does not look like that big of a bike either.
No, it doesn't. Watch out for that. It doesn't feel like a big bike whatsoever. I mean, it kind of does width-wise right up front here, but like filtering just kind of seems... I'm sure I could filter. I mean, we could try right here if you want to filter. I'll filter on the left. You filter on the right, maybe? Or no, I'll filter on the right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel 100% comfortable with filtering on this bike. We'll stop right here. Right here. I mean, I could, obviously, and... So we're going to go actually up here, Rob, and take a right-hand turn on the freeway coming up real soon.
Okay.
So we'll just get in the far right lane.
Not much vibration either, huh?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, not very much vibration as compared to my bike. Oh, good call. The standstill vibration's very minimal. Once you get moving, the vibration obviously disappears, like most Harleys. Yeah, I mean, this bike just, it feels very commanding. Does that make sense? Like a big giant throne, comfortable. I feel like I have a very good vantage point for what's happening around me. I feel like I also have that presence on the road. A little bit easier to see.
A lot of light in the rear too.
You
got the turning signals that dual as the brake lights, and then you have that nice running light that's at the tail of the rear fender.
Nice.
You know, these bikes, there's something to be said about these bikes, what they look like during the day, and then again what they look like at night.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of guys put on lighting kits and such for these bikes. You can really trick them out. There's a lot of customization options. I've seen, you know, big old ape hanger bars on them, and it all seems to look real good, which is awesome. No, man, I'm actually really happy with this bike. I'll be honest. Like I said, last night I kind of felt like I shouldn't test ride this bike, even though I really have never given it a shot. I just didn't really care for the look of it, and I'll be honest with you, man. Now that I've ridden on this bike, I actually really enjoy it, and as far as I can remember, I enjoy it more than I like the Street Glide.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just
it's a preference thing. You know, I think if you're
yeah, for sure, it is totally opinion. But and I think it is kind of Pepsi and Coke. But I think if you're going to pick up a Street Glide, at least give the Road Glide a shot and just see if you like the ride better. We don't want to be in this lane, I don't think. Well, maybe. With all this wind stuff open on the bike, I can feel a little bit more of the breeze, which is kind of nice, but it's still not a lot of buffeting. And I have all the vents open.
You know, I'll tell you, I mean, even at this speed with no fairing on this bike, I mean, I'm hanging on. The energy exerted on a day ride between the two is just
night and day difference.
Astronomical.
No, I feel very, very laid back on this bike. I could go hundreds and hundreds of miles and be fine. I mean, that's what this bike is made for, is touring. That's its first and foremost, that's its best attribute. But beyond that, you know, I think for commuting, this bike is phenomenal as well. So, real happy with it. We're gonna take the 280 coming up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll hop up behind you.
I'm gonna get behind. Well, I'm gonna get behind you.
Oh, okay.
All right. Coming up on your right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah, overall, this bike is fantastic. I can only say that so many times. The brakes seem very responsive. The mirrors are awesome, very functional. But the braking, definitely, for the weight of this bike, I feel very, very secure with the brakes.
Yeah, and the suspension soaks up the bumps as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
San Jose being known for its fantastic roads.
For its
a good suspension
roads
on a bike is very important.
For sure. Yeah, man, this is definitely a mellow ride, a mellow bike.
I would say if you're in for the endurance rides and you tend to go on longer rides, and you would think that this would be a better choice.
Yeah, you know, I like to go on long tours, and that's definitely something I'm interested in doing, and I do it, but it's only a small percentage of what I do. Most of what I do is up in the twisty roads, and then the rest is all commuting and day rides and such. So having a bike like this would be fantastic for me as my only bike. I would have no problem there. I would lose out a little bit on the performance, like twisty flickability stuff off of my Sportster, but for the most part, I think the difference there would be negligible. It would be very, very small difference.
Yeah.
But on touring, you're right. I mean, this bike is definitely fantastic. And the cool thing is, like, my wife wants me to get a bigger bike like this, so she can go touring with me. She'd feel more comfortable with that. And so that's cool. That's worth mentioning.
Oh yeah, you put a big backrest on it.
Yeah.
And then the floorboards for the passenger as well, and you're set.
Yeah, maybe even some armrest.
Little cup holder.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, there's something to be said about that, though. Since I've been riding 2-up lately a lot more, I mean, there is something to be said about having it really comfortable for your passenger, because you know, they're going on the long ride with you.
For sure. Oh man, I just took that turn and it felt so confident through it. I mean, it's just, this bike is crazy in that sense. You don't expect what you get out of it. That's trippy. No, this bike definitely is great for two-up riding. It's great for touring. That's what it's made for. I'd probably have to soften or change the suspension because it doesn't feel like it's finely tuned for me by any means. But from what I understand, it's real simple to adjust all the suspension on this thing. Let's see here, do I want race? Yeah, I do.
You know, and for a bagger too, I was looking at some of the older models, and the newer models seem like it's a little easier for a person to be able to get into the bike and do slight modifications on their own instead of taking it to a Harley dealership every time they got to do something.
Yeah, you know, from my experience of owning a Harley, the maintenance and stuff is really simple to do. There's a ton of inexpensive aftermarket parts out there that are sharp looking and well built. The market's just saturated with stuff for these kind of bikes, for all the bikes really. There's a ton of options, but working on them is extremely simple. Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I rode the CVO Ultra Electric Glide and I felt like it was 900 and something pounds. At low speeds, I felt like this is a heavy bike. At low speeds with this bike, I still don't feel like it's that heavy. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously heavier than my Sportster, but not by much.
So you feel you can do a small 90-degree turn if you needed to, or flip around?
Oh yeah, I've already had to do a couple for what we were doing today with filming, and it felt fine. It felt good.
That's good for some of the older riders.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this would be a good bike. I know a lot of people want to get into these kind of bikes that, you know, maybe in their 50s as like a touring bike with their wives or with their husbands, and I don't know if this would be the best first bike to get by any means, but everybody's different. I think I could have handled it, so I think a lot of people could handle it as a first bike. I think most Harleys are kind of friendly in that sense. Let's come up here. We'll park up here.
Yeah, I'm definitely not parking next to all those bikes. I feel like I need to ask before I even ride my bike into this parking lot. I'm gonna pull it next to your bike.
That's fine.
To hide it, I'm gonna hide my bike right here, okay?
Yeah, that's fine then.
I thank God my bike is black.